The lost battalion watched helplessly from below. Hope vanished again. Meanwhile, German commanders believed the Americans would, but something unexpected happened. The harder the Germans attacked, the more stubbornly the Americans resisted. The soldiers understood a terrible truth. If the line broke, everyone would die. So they kept fighting, hungry, bleeding, terrified, day after day. Finally, on October 7th, American forces launched a major assault toward the trapped battalion's location. Heavy fighting exploded across the forest. The sound of artillery shook the ground continuously. For the trapped soldiers, it was impossible to know whether rescue was coming or another attack had begun. Then distant American voices echoed through the trees. At first, many soldiers thought they were hallucinating, but the voices grew louder. Branches snapped nearby. Shapes emerged through smoke. American uniforms. Rescue had finally arrived. The siege was over. But what rescuers discovered inside the Argonne shocked everyone. Out of more than 500 soldiers who entered the forest, fewer than 200 were still able to fight. The rest were dead, wounded, missing, or psychologically destroyed. Many survivors looked unrecognizable. Starvation had hollowed their faces. Some men trembled uncontrollably. Others stared blankly ahead without emotion. Several survivors later struggled with severe psychological trauma for the rest of their lives. They had endured 6 days inside one of the most horrifying battlefields of World War I, and the forest never truly left them. The Lost Battalion soon became legendary across America. Newspapers celebrated their courage. Major Whittlesey was awarded the Medal of Honor. The surviving soldiers were praised as heroes who refused surrender against impossible odds. But behind the heroic headlines, many survivors carried terrible memories. Memories of starving beside dead friends. Memories of hearing wounded soldiers cry throughout the night. Memories of bodies hanging from shattered trees after artillery explosions. Memories of fear so intense it felt impossible to breathe. For some men, the war inside the Argonne forest never ended. Years later, survivors still reported nightmares. Some could not tolerate forests anymore. Others avoided discussing the battle entirely, because the Lost Battalion story was not simply about victory. It was about endurance inside hell. The Argonne forest still exists today. Quiet, green, peaceful from a distance. But beneath the soil, thousands of soldiers remain buried there. Rusting bullets still emerge after heavy rain. Fragments of helmets and weapons occasionally surface from the earth. The forest remembers everything, and somewhere beneath those ancient trees, echoes of the Lost Battalion still remain. Young American soldiers, trapped alone inside darkness, fighting not for glory, but simply to survive one more night.